Good morning and welcome to another book review by The Wicked Truth. I am Vid and I am The Wicked Truth. And here is the book. It's called Crushing It by Guy Vaynerchuck. And it's a really interesting book which I recommend greatly for anyone who's looking to do anything at all in the social media and digital world. Um, I am terrible at all of this stuff, and I've just started. And this book has been like a really nice guide and motivational tool. Firstly, a little bit about Guy. Guy is a entrepreneur who was born in Belarus, in Russia. Actually, he's a Belarusian guy, and he moved over. His family moved over to the States. I'm not entirely sure when, and they started a small wine business. And Guy took that wine business and made it something phenomenal by using digital techniques and social media. And now he's involved in a lot of like venture capital, angel kind of investing, and he's done phenomenally well in the digital sphere. Um, I think he took, if I'm not wrong, I think he took his the wine business and moved it from a 3 million sales business to something 160 million plus, or 100 million, 60 million plus, I think it is. I think his current net worth is something like 160 million. At least that's what the internet says. Who knows what's true? But the point is, the guy is really, he knows what he's talking about. He's a pioneer in the field. He started with social media um, when it was right in its infancy, at a time when someone like me just thought it was utter nonsense. And I spent a long time, thinking about quitting Facebook and quitting Twitter, and I wrote about it. And then my friends started laughing at me as I started posting more and more. But I think I've decided to actually embrace uh, many of the stories and the teachings which are in this book, and wanted to just tell you a little bit more about the book itself. So it's a fairly easy to read book. It's like your like any other kind of business book. I mean, the font isn't too small. This book in particular is filled with a lot of stories from different entrepreneurs who've made it in different ways. Uh, from young women with children even, or with bad backgrounds, from people who started off with almost nothing and built their own brand and then monetized the brand um, in various different ways and from various different walks of life, from people who build guitar pedals to people who sell clothes, um, fashion accessories, etc. So what this book really is about seizing opportunities in the digital age, and how to and I guess the key part of this book is it's about building your personal brand and then building a thriving business, a lucrative business out of your own personal brand. Um, so this book is about entrepreneurship. It's about how to leverage yourself. And all of us have something special. We've all made some mistakes and we all have some skills. And the art, I guess, of social media and the digital age is to bring our own stories out and bring value to people who may have had the same problems of you as you have, or are looking for something that you're specialized in. And something that really got me thinking about this is I've got this friend called AJ Block, and I've watched him over the last few years, and he is really good at the didgeridoo and a few other like unique instruments like hand pans, etc. And he's built a business selling um, his skill set, selling tutorials, selling actual didgeridoos, different types of didgeridoos, handpans, etc., musical instruments, and various other things. You should look him up. It's called the Dig Project. And it was really inspiring seeing him doing something special with using social media, using the internet and the digital age essentially to build his business up. Um, what this book really talks about, is that in the past we used to have lots of gatekeepers. If you wanted to make it in music, you had to go through EMI Records or whoever it was, record labels. If you want to make it as an actor or as a star of any kind, you had to go through specific gatekeepers in Hollywood. Um, this is no longer the case. In fashion, you had to go through one of the big fashion houses. This is no longer the case. The gatekeepers are losing their ground. If you wanted to make it in TV, you needed to get on one of the CBS or one of these big networks. No longer. People are doing all of this stuff by themselves, using social media, using tools like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And coming into this world directly, reaching their audiences directly. So it doesn't really matter what your age is, what your background is, how many computer skills you have. The tools now allow you to do whatever you need to do. You can find it, or you can actually learn it online. So the trick is really to monetize your passion. At the moment, I have a few ideas of my own, but really speaking, I'm not really thinking about monetization. This book really talks about a few major things. One is becoming an influencer. And what he means by an influencer is someone who can garner an audience of sufficient size, that you influence the audience that you are actually addressing. And the only way to really do that is to deliver actual value. And he talks about, I think, 7 or 8 key ingredients or principles about what you need to do. First is your intent. So what are you actually trying to do? Is your intent just to make money? Are you actually really bringing your passion out? Second is authenticity. Are you trying to put on some kind of face? Now, I love to read books, and everything I post, I actually love to do. And it's things or problems that I'm facing or things that I feel are interesting. This is the passion, the authentic passion, the authenticity to actually speak your truth. Third is, I mentioned the word a few times now, passion. So we're all passionate about certain things, and the idea is to bring your passion out into the world, and hopefully other people share your passion. Third and fourth, 2 parts, patience and speed. The patience part is, as he describes in the book, sometimes it can take absolutely years to get the audience that you want, and a lot of hustle, a lot of direct messaging people, a lot of rejections. And you can't really go through that unless you have the passion. At the same time, you need speed. So what he means by speed is reacting quickly, looking at trends in the market, and really helping people achieve what they want to achieve quicker than they could have done it on their own, which is why they come to you to see the content. Because, for example, you may not want to read it. I really suggest you do read it, but you may not want to read it. And if you don't want to read it, at least you've got a quick review and a description of what the book is, which is right here. This is what I'm giving you right now, is a description of the book. Third is third, fourth, fifth. Yes, Arun. You can come in 5 minutes. Oh, yeah. I'm at work. So this is my passion. I do it at work. We might be interrupted a few more times. Third, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th thing is the work ethic. So he really talks about, if you want to make it in this world, especially as an entrepreneur, and build and monetize and do your passion, you're going to have to work all hours of the day. You're going to have to give up a lot of things. But what you're giving up is really things that don't add value. Yes, please. Excuse me. So the book is kind of split into 3 sections. The first section is a very positive message about how to actually, and stories of people who've made it in the digital field. The second part of the book is really about your hold-ups and what's stopping you doing what you're doing. I'm not going to go too much into it, but essentially, things like fear of failure, fear that you're wasting time. Like, I'm sitting at work now, and I'm making a video about crushing it. and you know, it takes a lot of time and a little bit of free time that normally I'd have taken this time, a little bit downtime maybe, but instead of that downtime, I'm actually making a video. um, Things like vanity, seeming really vain. You know, you're putting yourself out there, and when you put yourself out there, people look at you like, why are you putting yourself out there? I get questions from people all the time like, oh, you're making a lot of, you know, like you're making a scene out there. And yeah, I guess I am. So you know, that's you know, vanity part. And finally, really, you know, like giving yourself actually a permission to do what you love to do, to pursue and to succeed. A lot of us don't give ourselves the permission to do that. Then the final part of the book is really about, it's called Creating Your Pillar. And pillar number one, and you know, something I struggled with is Facebook. I didn't really like Facebook. I'm not really a big fan of the Zuckerberg. And you know, I know a lot of people who have these feelings, but you know, when you want to do something and you want to succeed, you've got to open your heart and, you know, just go with the flow. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to create a Facebook business page, I think, once I actually decide if I'm going to monetize this thing, or at least create a Facebook presence. You got Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, chapters on that, and app called Musically. And then finally he goes really into what he thinks is the next big trend, which is what he calls it, voice first, which is things like Alexa and Google Home and etc., where people are using voice. And apparently that's a field. I've never heard of that being an actual field of development. I just thought you talked into it like you talk into Siri, but I guess you can develop apps in there, so I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah, and then I guess the final thing I want to say about the book is, you know, he gives a few tips, for example, the importance of hashtags and of direct messaging and collaboration online, reaching out to people and trying to like get your stuff out there. So that's the book. It really is a quick read. It's a fun read. And it's a follow-up from a book called Crush It, which I never read. I'm going to start following Gary. I keep calling him Guy. I'm going to follow Gary Vaynerchuck myself, and I really hope you like the review, despite a few of the interruptions in there, and hope to see you guys soon. There's a few other books that I'd like to review when I get there. One is called The Tao of Letting Go. I've just started that. But you know, there are certain books that you can just tell are going to be good, and that's going to be one of them. So you might want to get that, and then we can review it together. The next one is Ketotarian, which is play on the words for the ketogenic diet and the vegetarian. So I'm going plant-based, and this is how to go kind of keto in the plant-based world. Now, I'm not entirely sure I do want to go ketogenic, but it's just got a lot of wonderful information, a lot of science, talking about different energy sources, the metabolic pathways, what to eat, what not to eat, different kind of superfoods, different vitamins, how to get them, protein powders, you know, the difference between sacha and inchi and hemp. I'll do a more detailed review of this book at some point. And finally, you know, you got some just beautiful recipes at the back, none of which I've tried, but have inspired me to do a few things. So that review is going to come soon. And what else have we got here? I think that's about it. Thank you. Oh, I got this book as well. It's a very fat one on Genghis Khan. You know, it's nice to get a bit of history in there as well. I think really people have lost the art of reading and the passion for reading, and we go for easier things. I was doing it all the time, going for YouTube, audio, etc. But I did find, even audiobooks, I do find that it sticks better and the imagination works better when you actually read. We're all stuck with a lot of things to read these days. It's tough, but we got to do what we got to do. So take care. Thank you. Goodbye.